Welcome back, teachers. This is a quick demo to communicate the guidelines for setting up your gradebook. This refresher is for middle school teachers who teach courses that end at the semester term or at the quarter term. In other words, you teach a course that is only semester long or that is only a quarter long. If you are teaching a year-long class or you're not a middle school teacher, then you need to select a different refresher course that's specific to the course that you are teaching. The first area I would like to draw your attention to is the classes pane in the upper left corner of your screen. You should see a list of classes that you're scheduled to teach this year. If you do not see a list of classes, first try the drop-down. Make sure that you've selected either current classes or the current term. If you've tried both of those and you still don't see your classes listed, please communicate that to your school data manager. They need to go back in and check the settings sections to make sure that everything is set up correctly. After you see your list of classes, select the one that we're going to use for your grade setup. After you've selected your class, I'd like to draw your attention to the categories pane in the lower left corner. Power Teacher comes preset with a list of categories. These may even be the same as the ones you set up last year if you had a Power Teacher gradebook. Think of your categories as applying to all of the courses that you teach. In middle schools this year, your principals decided that you could have common categories and category weights among courses in your school. So for example, all middle school social studies in your building should have the same list of categories with the same category weights. Likewise, all English language arts classrooms would have different categories from social studies, but all of the ELA classes must share the same categories, same category weight, and same grade setup. This differs a little bit with your elective classes. Elective classes setups may be unique to that particular course. So for example, band would have its unique set of categories, as would PE and art. Just make sure that if there are multiple sections of that elective class, like multiple sections of PE with different PE teachers, you all share the same categories and same grade setup. If you have any questions about what's expected of you in that area, please contact your principal. To add a new category, you click on the plus sign. Type in the name of the category, and for this demonstration I'm going to use project. Add the abbreviation. Give it a color. Change the points possible from the default of 10 to 100. I strongly recommend that in any category that you use this year that you change the points possible to 100, unless you are using a point system in which every assignment in that category is out of the same number of points. If you don't do that, and all of your assignments in that category are out of a different number of points, you could be inadvertently weighting your assignments. So that's why I recommend that all points possible be a 100. After you've done that, click OK. And your project is now listed under your categories. Now in that same vein, if I create this category and realize we're not going to use it, or it's one of the default categories from Power Teacher and you just don't want it, you can highlight it and click the minus and confirm the delete to remove that category. We are now going to set up your grade calculations. To do that, go ahead and select the Grade Setup tab. And you'll notice that for your semester course, you should only have an F1, a Q1, Q2, or if it's second semester, you'll have F1, Q1, or Q3 and Q4. If by some chance you have F1, Q1 through Q4, then the system thinks that you're teaching a year-long course and this is not the grade set up for you. After I go through the setup for a semester course, then I'm going to quickly talk about the setup for a quarter-long course, which is really super simple. So if you're teaching a semester course, you should have an F1 term, and F1 means the final mark. Any course, regardless of what semester it's taught in, will have an F1. I also want to point out the importance of start and end dates with your grade calculation. Any assignment entered within the date range is going to be included in the calculation for the grade for that term. So for example, if I enter an assignment on October the 27th, then Power Teacher is going to figure that grade as part of the quarter 1 grade because it falls within those date ranges. If I add an assignment and the date for that assignment is October the 29th, then the system believes that you intend for that to calculate as part of a quarter 2 grade. So just make sure that when it's getting to be the end of the term that you pay attention to your assignment grade so the assignment's calculated in the term that you intend it to. Okay? So let's go ahead and click the arrow beside F1 because we want to tell the system how we want our final mark calculated. For a semester course, we're going to calculate the F1 final grade by using term weights. You have 2 terms. These are already pre-populated for you. It's a quarter 1 and quarter 2. Note that the system defaults, it thinks that you want to have equal weight. So it puts 100 in both places, but the percent is 50% and 50%, which is exactly what we want. So if I want to, I can go ahead and click save and move on. Or if I don't want to confuse myself later, I can put a 50 here and a 50 here as 50%. And it keeps the percent the same. So it's your preference there, whatever will confuse you the least later on down the road. So whatever you decide, go ahead and click save. But ultimately we want Q1 to represent 50% of the term and Q2 to represent 50% of the term. So my final mark is going to be an average of quarter 1 and quarter 2 equally weighted. I'm going to click save. And now we're going to calculate how quarter 1 is going to be averaged. So for your quarters, you're going to use category weights. So click on category weights. And I'm going to add the categories that were discussed earlier. So I'm going to add tests, homework, and classwork. I need to assign a weight to these. What do I want them to count as the total calculation for quarter 1? My personal preference, and again, this is decided by your subject area in your school. It needs to be consistent amongst everybody that's teaching that same content. So my PLC decides that classwork needs to be a weight of 45, homework a weight of 10, and tests a weight of 45 that's equal to classwork. These are not recommendations. These are just for illustration purposes only. Notice that it changes my percent column. If I'm happy with that, I can go ahead and click save. I need to copy the same setup for quarter 2 to make sure that it calculates the same as quarter 1. So to do that, I click the copy button. And I'm going to copy the item Q1, click OK. And I'm going to copy that to Q2. You're going to have to infer that if this is a second semester course, then you would be copying Q3 to Q4. I'm going to click Next, Finish, and now when I click on Q2, it has the exact same setup as my Q1. If I teach more than just this single course, I can copy the entire setup to multiple courses by clicking on the F1, then the copy button again, and I'm going to copy the entire setup for this class to another class by clicking OK. And then I can copy it to subsequent classes. That's how you should set up for semester-long courses. If you are teaching a quarter-long course, I've got an example of that right here. It should only have one term. It's a final mark. The date range is just a single quarter-long term. So to calculate the final mark for a quarter-long term, you are just going to use category weights. And you're going to do the same thing that was just discussed in the semester setup. So I'll pick my categories, assign the category weights, and save. And there's nothing for me to copy it to because it's just a single reporting term. Any assignments that are put in between this date range are going to calculate as the final mark. And that's how you set up your semester long or quarter long final grade setup in PowerTeacher. If you have any questions about what's expected of you, about your grade setup, feel free to talk to your principal, or you can even ask your data manager if it's a technical question. You may also contact Amanda Richardson if you've got any questions. But if you feel like that your request for help goes beyond just grade setup and you would like additional help with how to use the finer points of the PowerTeacher gradebook, you can visit the NCSys website, and you can see the website up here. Click on Training, Recorded Refreshers, and there's a gradebook webinar that's posted that's specific to the North Carolina version of PowerTeacher, and you can feel free to watch that to be refreshed on how to use the finer parts of PowerTeacher. Hope you found this helpful, and I wish you nothing but the best for a great school year.